strange. That's not normal. Ooh, what's that? What in the world has gone on here? Oh, right, so let's have a look. Internal speakers, yeah, everything should be in order. It's not making sense. I don't know what to make of that, chaps. Is it still making a racket? I don't know where that echo's coming from. I have no idea. How odd. Internal microphone, that should be as it is. How's that? No, we've still got the echo. Wait a minute. Is that any better? Well, I don't know what to make of that. I have no idea what's happening. Shouldn't be doing that. Let me have a look in here. Ah, got it. Got it. Monitor off. Monitor off? Hey! Oh my word. Well, we get there eventually on the eve of the Eclipse. The big kicker for the next round of madness. Prophesized all them. It's all there. It's all there to be known. If you're paying attention. Muted still. Love from Ireland. Wait a minute. Well, I shouldn't be muted. Hey. Yep, sorry, I was messing around in there because I have a little bit of a treat for you. So, and I rushed it, to be honest. So I have a new tune for you. I have a new tune, but more importantly, it's just to, on the eve of the kicker, just to remind people what may potentially be around the corner if old Trumpet doesn't get in. Mind you, not that it matters if Trumpet gets in because they're all playing for the same bunch. But nevertheless, it would be nice to get Trumpet in before they push in the big gig. So just in light of the stuff that we were talking about last week, I have a little treat for you. The tune's only 10 hours old, but it's okay. And it will set the scene for tonight, but also it will also set the scene for as we are on the eve of this eclipse tomorrow. Now, earthquake on the 6th in America, very interesting, 4.8 on the Richter scale. And of course, tomorrow is 4.8, isn't it? The 4th. It's the 8th of the 4th. Now, I put a video up on the Facebook from a guy I've followed who's very interesting when it comes to studying the maths in relation to certain events that go on. And through his maths, he can sort of determine whether it's natural or whether it's man-made. And he's adamant that the one on America on the 6th was actually man-made. Of course, he's suggesting China. Now, it is interesting because people don't actually realise, you know, they're waiting for this war to start. Well, the war started a long time ago. It's just that they're using different weaponry. They're using weather warfare, they're using earthquake capacity, and also, which they don't use that often because they know what it may entail, they're also able to kick off volcanoes. And it would appear that the eve of the eclipse that we're at tonight is going to be a kickstart for this warfare to show itself. to everybody. So there's no denying it. Everybody will have to recognise that actually all this weather that we've got is man-made. They're creating it, they're making it happen, they're making it feel like we've got a climate change in the manner that they want to pull in this new world order, to tax everybody, to pretty much stop you from doing anything. Because ultimately what they're aiming to do is depopulate. That's the aim. We got an inkling 3 years ago. They're at it again. Don't forget what gets signed in May. So they're preempting. Keep your eyes on this, people. Keep your eyes on it. So that's all we'll say on that matter. But tomorrow is definitely a prophesized event, and it's definitely going to change things. I don't think it's just going to be for America either. Now, there's a lot of doom and gloom out there saying blah de blah, but then when you get into the biblical side of this, actually it's the creative force giving the Americans another chance to turn around. It's not only America, it's everybody in the world to just about face and turn around from this madness that people are headed into because they can't be asked to speak up, they can't be asked to talk up, they just can't be bothered to do it because they believe they have no power. You all have the power of the kingdom within, every single one of us. You know, so the title of tonight's stream is, are you going to run off to the Mafia because it exists and you're comfortable with it? Or are you going to start to express that kingdom within as an individual? Because the kingdom within already has its own theatre, it has its own script. And if we all start to operate in accordance with that kingdom within, we're all going to come in sync. We're all going to come in sync with Genesis 1, which also puts us in sync with the man. Not as it's been described in the Gospels, of course, because that's written and it's been turned asunder. But of course, if you follow the message of what he did and then reference what's written, and does that fit with what he did? Because we've discussed, haven't we, on the 666, that 3 words added to a phrase takes you right off track, completely off track. But of course, they're creating that, so they're making it real because everybody's playing that. They're on that. You know, that's what we're manifesting. We're manifesting this idea that it is one single man. And so that's exactly what's going to be manifested. But the reality of it is, it's the fact it's a reference to a particular kind of man, a character, that pretty much everybody today is actually living. And it's symbolised in the number 666, which we can transfer to the cube, and that the 3 chakras beneath the heart are fixed in that realm. Not the kingdom within, but fixed to the kingdom without. And of course, the kingdom without is going to present you this madness. But you don't lose hope, because of course, it's going to affect those that are stuck into it, those that are embedded in this false materialistic script. They're the ones that are going to suffer the most. And of course, most people are running into the Mafia because they think they're safe, they think they're secure, and they think they're going to make it because they're going to do that. Well, that's because they haven't studied the scripts that are given out by these people that are calling themselves a breakaway civilization and have created a sort of mythic arc in which it's very clear you're not going on it. You're not going on it. But while you're building it for them, it'll make you think you're included. You're not included. Nobody's included. Right up to the heights of this game, you're not included, and you're certainly not going to get a place on this new arc. And remember, there were only 8 people on the arc originally, if you take the fantasy script as it's presented. And then, of course, if you actually do study that script properly, the people that were also left when that arc showed itself after the waters had subsided were furious at the fact that this guy Noah had brought across from that time these dark forces, these dark bloodlines. So, you know, but you don't reference it from that, you're referencing it from the biblical script, which has been given to you by a church. A bunch of guys who are operating against you, wanting you to believe a silly dance, and want you to dance that silly dance. So, of course, we're at today, that silly dance is what's manifesting before everybody. Ooh, now, interesting as well, in Russia, Putin's issuing draft orders everywhere, with a caveat that if any males in Russia receive the draft and then scarper out of the country, it's 10 years in jail. So he's getting ready. You've got the Americans over there. One guy in particular I watched that is 11 years out of the Marines has been called back as a redraft 11 years after. So they're all prepping and getting ready for some madness. The Ukraine isn't going to be pulled into NATO. So even though the mainstream is saying that it is, it isn't. They're just giving it a bit of encouragement to try and keep it going so that they can keep funding it. You've got all these exercises going on which are stripping our nations of our soldiers. Yeah, but this treaty is important that you need to keep your eyes on, because they're stripping our nation of our soldiers, and we know what's been flooding in under contract to the government. Police are giving them the papers. We're paying for them to live that life of Raleigh while folk are being thrown out on the street. Interestingly, this week, or last week it happened, maybe a couple of weeks ago, a couple were removed from the home by private security who happen to be all immigrants working for homegrown Muslims. Yeah, that's what they're doing. But good news is the people of Derby took it back. Took it back and pretty much told the police that it's a civil matter, they're not going to get involved, because otherwise they run the risk of getting arrested. So it shows that if you come together as people again, which is what we forgot, you know, everybody's, oh, I'm for myself, I'm more fantastic than everybody else, off they go. That's what we've lost. That's why these hive mind people are succeeding. So, you know, you can't sit on your ass. You can't rest on your laurels. If you want to stop this, you're going to have to get off your fat ass and you're going to have to recommunicate with your people again. And these private security that are running around thinking that they can take people's houses, we have to put them right. And remember also that the police are now private companies. They're not constabularies. They're private companies. It's like McDonald's calling round to your house and kicking you out. Would you accept it? No, you wouldn't. If KFC staff came round to your house and threw a lot of paperwork at you and said, get out, you wouldn't accept it, would you? No. But remember, anything that's financial is a civil matter. And once you've cited them for trespass, you can't be assaulting folk if you're removing them off, once you've removed the implied right of access. And I said last week the best way to do that for the first instance is put private on your gate. And then beyond that then is private. You've informed them, that means you've removed their implied right of access from that side of it. Once you explain to them that they're trespassing, you're within your rights in English law to remove them with whatever force is required. You can't touch them when they get out on the street, and that's important that you understand that. But on your land, if you've got private on there, or even if they come on and you haven't got private, once you've got it recorded that you've told them the right of implied access has been revoked, you're okay. The law covers you. And people have to come back to this courage and know that that is England, not Corporation UK, which is what all this shit's operating to, the empire. Okay, the empire. The empire's brought the immigrants, the empire's letting the immigrants come in, and you're paying for them. You've got to understand this. All your ancestors since 1933 have been funding the Crown and the government on the dead estates. Yeah, that they keep in probate once they've got hold of that death certificate, and you've given it to them. Yeah, upon the death of your loved one. You are allowing this system to utilise the hidden ledger that they have been building up while you're alive, and you've been you've been paying it as well. You really need to start getting your minds into this and have the confidence to know that that is the correct way that England works. Not shit yourself because Dick Telly, people talking heads down at Chalco, Westminster, solicitors, barristers and judges are telling you different. They're full of shit. They're operating the star chambers, which are unlawful on England. You've got to get off your ass now. If you want to keep your country, then you've got to get off your ass. Because I'm looking on everywhere and everybody's crying their eyeballs out. What's happening? It's happening because you're doing fuck all. It's happening because you're a pussy. It's happening because you're letting them destroy your children while they're babies. It's happening because you're letting the schools destroy the minds of your offspring. You're letting it happen. Not the government making it. They're just blagging you. You're a shit scared. You're a coward because you're still an infant. Yeah? That's why it's happening. Get off your fat ass. Stop crying about things and start to act. You're running out of time, and tomorrow is a major kicker for the next phase of this bullshit. Do we understand this? Remember what happened during the last script? The council ran it. It's a corporate body. They have nothing. You've given them your power of attorney when you vote. More for you. I don't vote. They don't control me. They don't have my power of attorney. There's no MP anywhere that has my power of attorney. In medical, in law, in any side of it. The schools, when my flea bags were at schools, I revoked all assumed authority over my offspring and made it clear the only responsibility the school had was to keep them safe from the moment they walked in until the moment they stepped out. After that, they had nothing to do with it whatsoever. I revoked any and all medical interventions that they might assume when they went on school trips. I made it very clear. Anything happens to any of my offspring at school or on a trip, you ring me. You don't do anything. You ring me or you ring mum. And we will come and get them. That's the way you've got to play. You've got to take back your power. And you've got to do. You're on your last chance corral, folks. You're on your last chance corral. So, with that, let's see who's on. And then I'll give you a little bit of a treat. And also, hopefully, the Americans might pick this up and keep this in mind as we pass through this eclipse. So Lex says, evening Sean and all, good evening to you Lex. Chris R, oh yeah to you Chris. Jerry says, hi Lex, Sean, Chris, Asylum for the gifted. Indeed. Paul says, good evening Sean and everyone, good evening Paul. Chris R, evening to you sir. Guitar Girl, evening Sean to all, and the Wise Asylum, good evening to you Guitar Girl. Slipknot says, alright Sean, Jackie and everyone. How do Trev? How do indeed. Jerry Sonamick says, yup. Hey hope. PY says, evening. And then we had a bit of a cock up there, and says, all looking pampered there, Sean. Well, I had a haircut, and that meth blue. I'll tell you what, psoriasis. So when I go into sunbed, you've got the psoriasis that's come out off on the top of the skin. But when you go on a sunbed, you can actually see it beneath the skin. It's like a red patches everywhere. And that's beneath the skin. And I'm telling you now, I went into the sunbed this week and had a look, and I'll tell you most of the red blotches underneath the skin have gone. Gone. Completely. Now, I don't know whether it's giving up the old magic, because I'm 10 week in now, aren't I a clever girl? 10 week in, and it doesn't bother me at all. So, even if I'm sat with crews that I don't mind them smoking, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't excite me to want it or anything like that. So, 10 weeks in, and I'm feeling good. 2 more weeks, and I'm 3 months in. Again, addiction's always working 3 minutes, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. So, we get past 3 months, and I should be all groovy. So, there's a mixture. What is it what's actually working here? I don't know. Plus, I'm taking that colloidal silver, so maybe I should just, anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't care, it's working. The only thing, we've still got this little monster to get, and I didn't electrocute myself because the fitting for this lamp system bust. So, I'll have to get a lamp fitting on Monday and try that again. But this little blighter doesn't want to go, whatever it is. So we got rid of sound, so sound sorted. And Drew says, evening Sean, it was a toss-up between you and Sheep Farm. You won. Well, thank you very much, Drew, and I hope we can make it worth your while for choosing the Old Wise Asylum. Evening to you, Drew. So we've still got a bit of no saying going on. Jerry says, must be the alignment affecting the acoustics. No, it were me. Guilty as charged, following on rushing to try and get this tune in. I mean, we're going to leave it till next week, but in fact, I'll tell you what, right, I've been writing this, just 10 hours I've had on it, and in the week, I got on it late, and I kicked it. I removed a major part of the entire tune without realising until I got up in the morning, and I'm thinking, should I miss it? And it's missing, and I can't remember what it were that I had in it. So I'm quite sure I'll make it better, but even I have to say, it was spiffing. It was spiffing, it were, and I ruined it. So it's just, you know, sometimes I can be rather demented, as you probably all were. Anyway, I don't need to tell you. Guitar Girl says, Gremlins are about got set. No, it's me. It were me entirely. Nobody else is guilty. Kerry says, love from Ireland. Love to you and Ireland as well, Kerry. Evening. 5 times 5, says Jerry. Expand me, old China. June says, Sean, what's this, the French regarding Buckingham Palace? Oh, I've not seen that. Well, you do know, don't you, that since the Hanoverians came over, that the Georgian kings were actually kings of France as well. I think it's one of the well-known naval admirals that I tweeted about in the day, and he used to issue medals and coins to his staff if they were good little boys. And it says clearly on there, King George, I think it's King George the Third, King of, I think it's either United Kingdom or Great Britain, and France. So it's the same gig, because the Masons destroyed France, didn't they, in the Revolution? Yeah. So you got to keep that in mind. But no, I didn't know about that, my old China, but it wouldn't surprise me. You've got to understand that the monarchy system here now has been destroyed. She destroyed it in the 70 years. And now it's gone to shit. I don't understand exactly what's happening, but he took an oath to Scotland. No mention of England. Remember that, apart from the Church of England, which is Presbyterian Scottish. England has gone in relation to these hoity-toits, and now they're operating. They're operating under the corporate mantle of the UK. Not England. And people need to get a grip of that. You are England, because England is you. Get off your fat asses, stop fucking crying like babies, and start to express that kingdom within. England were given to you by your ancestors. Take it back. Exist in it. Use it. Enforce it. Because that's law. Everything else is contract. Remember that. Which is why we've gone through person. We've gone through man. We've gone through Genesis 1. We've gone through Genesis 2. We've gone through so many subjects in these live streams. You should have a good grasp now of what it is I'm trying to pull together in relation to how we stop this shit completely and utterly enveloping England. And Scotland if we can, because the Scottish people are under this shit and have been for much longer, because the elites shifted into Scotland centuries ago and have completely controlled and attacked the Scottish people for centuries, just the same as they have here. But they were a lot worse up there. So I don't know about that. That's interesting. Maybe we'll Google that and have a look, see if we can pick it up. Untitled says, hi Sean and all. Good evening to you, Untitled. Simply Scouse says, Council Watch, evening all. Evening to you. Anthony Moore says, Airbnb just updated their T's and C's to account for lockdowns, climate emergencies, non-ability. Now, interesting, I've seen that because I got one through. I don't know why I get an Airbnb thing through. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen that. So just keep your eyes open, folks, on this preempting of this gig that gets signed over in May, but we don't want to talk too much about it because the algorithms will chop me off. Jerry says, using the manifesting trick again, man, well attempting to. Well, you manifest it by making it. Think it, get that third eye going, designing your third eye like Tesla did, and then make it happen. That's what Tesla did. He formed it in his mind till he got it right, then physically worked to implement it, make it, rather than the scientific method, which is try this, no, that didn't work, try another, that didn't work. It does it all up here. It's a muscle, remember, you've got to use it. Hi Sean and hi guys, says Mark. Hello Mark. Jerry says exactly when they say it in it together and for the greater good, it's a message to their own, not us. Exactly. They're never speaking to you. Ever. Gid says, hey up folks. Hey up Gid, how's it going? And nice to see you. Jerry says, well done on the breaking of the habit, Sean. Good man. Thank you very much, sir. The 5x5 was letting you know all good regarding the sound. Okay, thank you very much. If there's anyone sneaking up behind you, alright, I'll watch your 6. Okay, no problem. The recusant vagabond says, hi Sean and all. Hello to you, sir, and welcome. Jerry's trying to make June, I'd say UK corporation is still in EU, not in England. It's never come out. Brexit wasn't implemented. The High Court prevented Boris from proroguing it. What's killed the economy? Can you guess? What are they using to blame? Brexit. It hasn't been implemented. Never was. Boris wasn't even interested in it. Simply Scouse says, brilliantly said, sir, authentic and heartfelt, but my arse isn't fat as yet. Hee hee. Good, because I'm not into fat arses. I'm not. I like a nice... Anyway, shut up, Sean. Stop it. I don't like fat arses. Well, to a point, but not fat. You know what I'm saying? These big arses that you... I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Simply Scouse says, waiting for some non-entity to come save us. Yeah, well, no, it's not happening, is it? Get off your ass and crack on. And Slipknot says, the all is mind, the universe is mental. Of course it is. Everything's mental. That's what manifests it in this realm. Right. Let's get in the mood. And just on the eve of destruction, as I keep trying to think. But never mind, we're not saying that because I don't want to scare people. But it is a kicker, this. Tomorrow, what's happening tomorrow is a kicker to change things. And just be ready, that's all. And keep your self-esteem in order and keep expressing that kingdom within. And do not become subject to any fruit bats they might send against you. So here we go. Have a look at this.
And for the international order that we have worked for generations to build. Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
Sorry, I'll start it again. My apologies. It were a bit iffy though because I had it on echo, but you can't tell it's on the eve of madness. Anyway, off we go again. My apologies.
And for the international order that we have worked for generations to build. Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
Say no. They simply say no. And that's what we all should do. Because this will end if we simply say no. They simply say no. And that's what we all should do. Because this will end if we simply say no. And that's what we're here to do today. They simply say no. And that's what we all should do. Because this will end if we simply say no. No. Say no.
Tune's not long enough. Oh well, that's, by the way, George Clooney sat in that boat with him. Just in case you didn't know. There's some interesting data. So they're reckoning his mother is Hitler's daughter. Now, I don't know whether that's correct or not, of course. But these are old images, these. Very old. And the speech he made about everybody being simple has been removed off the internet over the years so many times. They really don't like it. So, yeah, tune should have been a lot. I should have made them images a little less long, but never mind. You get the gist. And that man's been running this Biden administration since the get-go. Don't like it. I don't like it one bit. And let's not forget who was whispering in his logos. Rahm Emanuel, when he was in office. He's not his own man, he's a puppet, like every single one of them. Yep. He's a puppet. And back we go. There's something going on as well with Cameron, and let's not forget Obama visited 10 Downing Street out of the blue just before the Russian false flag. And I'll bet you a pound to a pinch of shit he wasn't meeting Sunak. He'll have been meeting that fella there. Thatcher's little fixer, David Cameron. Ho ho ho! So what do you reckon to that, my old Chinas? Not good, is it? It's not good whichever way it goes. And tomorrow is a kicker for some new gigs. And I think this weather warfare earthquake gig is going to kick off. And then everybody can see that we've been telling you this for 20 years plus. And everybody's now going to see it for real. It's real. It's not a joke. And they're spraying your skies. You want to know how you're getting these bugs? It's coming out of the skies, people, at night when you're all fast asleep in your little beddy buys. Right, so what else have we got going on here? Let's have a look. Huh? Oh. We got a blank screen. I'm sure I put something in here. Oh, I didn't take it out. No, see, I'm rubbish. Thought I just wanted people to... Oh, have a look at this. Oof, this is a bit... These were giants that were found in Egypt. Look at the size of them. Them's big, aren't they? You know, and them are small compared to some that have been found everywhere else. And then you've got the Kandahar giant, where the American Marines came across one in a cave. So if that's the case, they're still around, these geezers, just hiding. I don't know. And so again, we need to just understand what this symbol is, because it's not what Hitler wrecked. It's one of the oldest symbols, and it represents Urge Mesa going round the pole star. That's how they count it. The pole star never moves. And look, Celts, Greek, Tibet, Japan, Aztec, Ceylon, Malta, China, Christian, Islamic, Hopi, Bali, Lapland, Jewish, and Jain. They all used this symbol. It doesn't represent evil. It was just inverted by the Bolsheviks who ran the Third Reich on behalf of the inner city temple via Wall Street. Oh, see, now look what I've done. See, I had it in a different folder ready and set. Okay, well, we've done that now. That's in there. Because I haven't really done much. I've been grafting this week. UK politics. Let's just remind you, because if Labour get in, this is what we're getting back. These shitheads. Campbell and Blair. Remember, Campbell had a real bad do. And we did a piece on him once. His wife's in charge of him. She's his handler. He's like a little baby in her hands. Is Alistair Campbell. In fact, I might republish that profile I did of him. And Boris Johnson says it's shameful to call for the UK to end arms sales to Israel. Well, of course, when you represent the military-industrial complex, you're going to say that, aren't you? So that's Boris the blonde bombshell, sticking his nose in. Again, bigging up arms sales. Now, these are these LiDAR systems that are in London that they're putting up. And somebody took one down and took it to pieces. So this is what you've got in these LiDAR systems with mixing with this ULEZ. And they're actually quite dangerous if you go with what's being found in relation to them being able to blind you. And that's another image of it took to pieces. So you've got these two big lens things here. And there's a lot of electronics going on in there. A lot indeed, I have to say. So there's the LiDAR systems that they're adding amongst this ULEZ. And it seems lots of people are getting lens disease. Facial recognition LiDAR is really useful as a weapon to destroy eyesight. It's one devious way to stop you driving. And they've been being put up in 2023 to 23. And it's in the 60 to 89 age group. So it's hitting the old folks pretty bad. And of course, as we saw last week, the protesters have started putting bat boxes on. Now this is when you start to see the bullshit of environmentalism, when they basically start to say, fuck that shit, we don't care if you've got bat boxes on, we're still going up. Because it's one rule for them, and all them rules of environmentalism for you. Now look who brought up Keir Starmer. There's little Keir Starmer as a little boy with Uncle Jimmy. Which is why Starmer made sure Uncle Jimmy wasn't investigated when he was running CPS. Yeah, he was Jimmy's boy. And there again, Galloway, Jimmy Savile. Yep. Because this Labour massive is looking like it's going to build itself in unless there's some major shift. But this is what you're going to get, people. Shag-ass paedophiles, Tony Blair, Campbell, Yeah, back. Do you want them bastards back? Ooh, the Cheshire Cat. I can't believe he's still breathing, that fella. And Campbell, to be quite honest. And Gordon Brown. Why are they still breathing? It's beyond my comprehension for what they've done in their time. And this piece of shit is trying his little ass off to join them. A proper warmongering fat piece of shit, this blonde bombshell. But they're still better than Labour. But then they're not, are they? Because the Privy Council is running whichever government you have in, because everybody that's assigned as the Cabinet is handpicked by the Privy Council. And Candice says, nobody cares what the Jews think anymore. We've heard it all so many times before. The mind goes numb as soon as outlets like start calling people they don't like anti-Semites. Notice how long the list has become. But as we've been investigating, as we look through some of these lines, they're not Jewish. And John Kerry's daughter says billions, so that's billions of humans must die for the New World Order. They're telling you what they're going to do. She's one ugly monstrosity. But then daddies as well. You've got to see that when they say these things, billions have to die, they mean it. And they don't mean them. Even at that level, though, of Kerry, they're not going to be in, guaranteed. It says so if when you read the literature. It says it all. Get that in your minds, people. Billions of humans must die for the New World Order. Not good, folks. Not good at all. Right. Now, in sync with what we've been doing in the last few live streams, we're going to go through another bloodline. But this one is special when it comes to Blighty, because these guys were behind the Stanleys. Now, way back in the midst of time, it was the Breakspears that ran these isles on behalf of the Holy See families after the 1066 invasion. Now, once he embedded the Stanleys, then the Breakspears uprooted and went to China and did the same in China. So the Stanleys have been manipulating the monarchs for quite a long time. They've been causing the wars before they got full control and ousted the Plantagenets and pulled in the Tudors. Okay? So the Stanleys were responsible for pulling in the Tudors and putting them on the throne. And then they could give us a new ecclesiastical jurisdiction so we could build empire. So the Holy See families could build empire without it showing itself as being a part of Rome. So it got a new ecclesiastical jurisdiction. And you can see that when you look at this tosspot that's running the Church of England today. It's got no bearing whatsoever on Christianity at all. Even the Constantine's version of Christianity has no bearing on it whatsoever. So this house, the Stanleys were actually run and financed by the Pallavicini. Now in my studies back in the day when I was studying this history, the Pallavicini looked to me like they were operating as a branch of the Foreigners. So we can say the Pallavicini, as powerful as they are, from what I found, and I'm not saying it's an absolute fact, but there were enough data that I saw that showed us that they were actually just another branch of the House Foreigners. So you could say then the House Foreigners is much higher than the Pallavicini, as high as the Pallavicini are, especially given the fact that they've been running the British Isles, and you consider that on the British Isles was built the British Empire, or the headquarters of the East India Companies, the Virginia Company, the Africa Company, the Levant. Which the Levant was the first one actually. The Dutch East India, the Portuguese, all these colonial powers amalgamated in the inner city of London under the Temple. Not the original temple that the Templars created, which we looked at the other week, They were specifically Christian, and they built a temple assigned to Mary the Virgin. But of course, since the Stanleys and the Tudors, and then the Dutch at the Civil War, and then the Hanoverians got on and in, they amalgamated all these colonial powers into the inner city church and and claimed it to then be a representation of Solomon's temple. And of course, Solomon, if you studied Solomon, guy was a debauched fruit bat, and he pretty much pulled in all the demons into his temple. He was shagging everything on the planet. He had thousands of kids. And there's another guy that we looked at last week who also did the same, shagged everybody and had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of offspring, and that be Genghis Khan. Yep, so you can see where all these shitbags come from. And again, in my studies back in the day, it's pretty clear to me that Genghis Khan had the Roman Empire capitulate because of the might and power of the Venetians, by the way. Now, whether the Venetians actually had built the Golden Horde and that it was its vassal, ultimately, and not that Genghis wasn't actually his own man, is debatable. But the Venetians, once they created Venice, whomever they were, Venetians we know, they were the ones that orchestrated the destruction of Byzantium, the destruction of Western Rome, which was Aryan Rome. We forget that as well because we've had it took out of our minds. So the Venetians have always been the pinnacle power since, you might say, the end of the first 1,000 years after the man. And it was the Venetian part of the north. Now the Welfs, they split in two after they defeated the Hohenstaufens, who were the mighty house of Germany, the Aryan stock, the Merovingian stock. After that battle, they actually split and divided into black Guelphs and white Guelphs, still operating to the same agenda. And in my opinion, that would then give you white hats, black hats. It's a con. They're all being run under this Venetian party of the north, or today as it is, the new Venetian party of the north. So that being said, let's now have a look at this house of Pallavicini. Mighty house on the British Isles since before the Tudors were struck on here by the House Stanley. I have to flick it here. That's right. So the House Pallavicini. Pallavi is a term for the old Parthian language, and from which the name Pallavicini derives. Prince Pre Pallavi is the current head of the Iranian royal family. Remember, these families, these Holy See families, the majority of them claim descent and origin in Iran, or Persia, as it were. And that again fits in with Genghis Khan. Right? The Pallavicini were responsible for the Tudors being placed on the throne of England via their agents, the House Stanley. Through Horatio Pallavicini, the house financed Elizabeth I and opened the door to the expansion of the English navy to pirate the Spanish galleons raiding South American gold and silver. So as the Spanish were raiding the Aztecs, the Mayas, and killing them and robbing them, another branch of the Holy See families was pirating those galleons and building up the English navy in readiness for the complete takeover after the Civil War by the financiers that were then centred in Holland. Giancarlo Pallavicini, Milan, is an economist and worked as an advisor to the Soviet government. Giancarlo Pallavicini specialised in economic globalism. So remember, Soviet government, that's Bolsheviks. Okay, so these are the real power that were operating the creation of the Bolshevik Revolution across Soviet Russia and then into Germany. ultimately destroying Germany. I mean, you could say the 6 million target of death was against the Germans, and they went way beyond 6 million. Let's have that right. There he is. This is the fella. Prince Filippo Rospigliosi is the hidden head of the Scottish Rite Freemasonry and the Earl of Newburgh, Scotland, and also has Pallavicini titles in Venice and Genoa while residing in Milan. There he is, with his puppet, the Jesuit Pope Francis. Okay, look, this is where power is, people. Not your government, not Charlie Boy, not Queen Elizabeth II. Although she was very high level in the Venetian party of the north. And as I've said before, in between Christmas and New Year every year, the QE2 would sail out and anchor in the Venetian Bay, and all the heads of the black nobility would meet on there and discuss the next year's agendas. The Bilderberg group then would be sanctioned to pull in all the leaders, all the press moguls, and anybody else that would be required to move the agenda decided on the QE2 in the between Christmas and New Year. That's where it would be implemented out into La land. Yaya Sergio Yaya Pallavicini is president of the Italian Islamic religious community and imam of the Al-Wahid Mosque in Milan. Alright? So this guy's no Muslim. Okay, he's a Pallavicini. These are a powerful family, you know. There he is in all his glory. Prince Magnate Yaya Sergio Yaya Pallavicini from Milan directs ISESCO, or the Islamic Organization for Scientific and Cultural Education. So these guys are educating the imams who are shafting the Muslims by taking them off the Quran in the Sharia and telling them that that is Islam. Okay, so the Islamic Organization for Scientific and Cultural Education, these are what's programming the imams in all these super mosques that they've built across Europe so that they can get the Muslims to act contrary to the book. And they're using commentary like they did usurping the Torah Jews, and now they've done in usurping those that claim to be Christians or the evangelicals through the Schofield Bible, which is based on notes written down by Cyril Schofield, who's a complete and utter shitbag and a fraud. But American evangelicalism is 100% operating according to Cyril Schofield's notes and taking that as biblical. So they've done it to the Torah Jews, they've done it to the Christians, and they've done it to the Muslims. So the Christian Zionism is the completion of what was actually started in 1694. But we'll get into that another time. So Zionism wasn't started by Theodore Herzl, as you are given. It was started in 1694 by another geezer. Okay, we'll not get into that now, but we'll get into that next week. He is also an advisor for Islamic affairs in Italy. Yaya's father, Sheikh Abd al-Wahid Pallavicini, was the head of the Sufi order Ahmadiyya, Idrisiyya Sadiyya in Italy. Nasser David Khalil is a British-Iranian Jewish billionaire and Vatican Knight of the Order of Saint Sylvester and a trustee of the city of Jerusalem and serves the Pallavicini family. Right? There are many Jewish Iranian international businessman families such as Manosharian, Gurmazian and Miraj, and Mahmoud Kayame is a Franco-Iranian millionaire residing in London and co-founder of the Iran National Company. So you've got the Shia Sufis screwing up the Sunni Muslims But of course that can only happen because the Sunni Muslims don't read the Quran, they don't read the Hadith, they don't read the Sirah, therefore they don't know whether their Sharia law represents the Quran or not. Same gig for everybody. Your ignorance is what builds this 666 system and then presents you as a character or a shade of man in the cube system of 666. Okay? So there's no innocence going on here. There's no one religion now pushing the truth of its own doctrines. Everybody's being screwed over. This is why we are in such a mess. And he's a co-founder of the Iran National Company. He is also a Knight of the Order of St. Sylvester and serves the Pallavicinis. Elvina Pallavicini was known for supporting the United States war against Iraq. So when George Bush didn't want to go into Iraq, he said, no, get stuff. This is George Herbert Bush. And Maggie Thatcher was sent over there to say, George, sort your shit out. It was Elvina Pallavicini who gave the order. So not only are they completely controlling the British Isles and the inner city, but they're also completely controlling the United States government and presidents. Which is why you see Trump around these Catholic orders every year when they go to the charitable gig that his father went to every year. Yeah? So this Jewish game is just a front to excite the three religions who are already divided. Can you see? If they come out and said, well, actually, it's the Sufis, the Magi that are operating this, they're playing you all against each other to build the system they ultimately want, which is to annihilate billions of you for the New World Order. And the fact that you're all going to do it yourself, there's no spiritual kickback to these fruit bats. They are the ultimate black magicians that exist on this earth. And word wizardry is the biggest game on the table. Pallavicini's coat of arms uses the double-headed eagle of Scottish Rite Freemasonry along with a Masonic chessboard pattern. The Pallavicini family is a prominent lineage in the global crime syndicate and rule the Palatine in Rome. They have had multiple family branches in Italy and Austria and ancestors who ruled around Athens and Greece. Pallavicini Palace coat of arms in Vienna, Austria. Yep, you see checkerboard in the centre and it's red and white. Egypt, right? And they got the harp. And I'm not, is that the orb? Yep, that's in Vienna. And a green bird. Or phoenix. It's not really eagles. They have ruled as princes in Genoa, Milan, Rome, Budapest and Vienna. They recently married in the German house of Württemberg with Duchess Helen of Württemberg, married to the Marquis Federico Pallavicini. The Pallavicini family married the papal nobility Rospigliosi and also has a London branch through the family Cromwell. Okay, so first you get Thomas Cromwell. He orchestrated and he was the architect of the break from Rome so-called for Henry VIII. And then you get Oliver down the line. Okay, Pallavicini people. Horatio Pallavicini was a financier of the British Crown, and his family merged with the Cromwells through various marriages that created the alternative name Pallavicini. You see how they shift things so that it's all the thick people don't see the connection. Charles Vincent Somerset Pallavicini. Oh, it's Somerset. Just stick Somerset in there, baby boomers and ancestors before they fucked. They'll have that, because they're not very bright. Is a current member of the British aristocracy. The Pallavicini family were originally Genovese bankers and probably had a large number of shares in the Benoise Carriage Bank, which was founded in 1482. Now, the Red Cross of England is a Genoese ensign, naval ensign. But way back in the day, like I said, a lot of these families originally were Christian. They've all been taken over through breeding through the females. Okay? Shoving one of their whores on, the priestess of the whore, and it's in that marriage that they make sure the offspring, because of course they're mothers, shift to the dark side, and that's how they've done it. Yeah? You've got the name stealers as well, who look like they were the Khazarians. Nasser David Khalil is a Jewish British Iranian billionaire, and this guy's tied, as we said, as we've just shown, to this fella. Alright? Nasser David Khalil is a British Iranian Jewish billionaire and Vatican Knights and a trustee of the city of Jerusalem, and serves the Pallavicini, right? So now we're going to get to look at him. So he's tied into this move against Islam by shifting the Shia over the Sunni. Right? Nasser David Khalil is a Jewish British Iranian billionaire and Vatican Knight of the Order of St. Sylvester, and he works for the Pallavicini family through the Vatican. Khalil is believed to be worth between 1.5 billion, and that's dollars, by the way. There he is, again, with the vassal, Pope Francis. Okay? This is power, people. Mons Lefebvre, I don't know whether I'm saying that right, greeted the Principessa Pallavicini at the Palazzo Pallavicini in Rome on June the 6th, 1977. I don't know whether I've got an image of this, I might have missed it. Princess Elvina Pallavicini, the recognised leader of the black nobility, effusively invited Lefebvre to celebrate a Latin Mass at her famous Palazzo Rospigliosi in Rome. In 1978, Lefebvre celebrated another similar Mass in Paris, but before the representatives of all the fascist parties in Europe, or the Euro Right. Pope John Paul II excommunicated Lefebvre in 1988. So Pope John Paul II recognised that this guy was a complete twat, and he was a leader operating for Princess Elvina Pallavicini. So she may be dead, I don't know, but I've either missed the image or I didn't have it. Amid John Paul II's campaign against the Second War in Iraq, Princess Pallavicini, Italian sponsor of Lefebvre, organised a meeting February the 12th, 2003, in support of the preventative war policy of US Vice President Dick Cheney and his Defence Secretary Donald Rumsfeld, to which he invited the American ambassadors Mel Sembler before Italy and Jim Nicholson before the Vatican, and the State Department planner Andrew Erdman to speak before members of the Italian government, dignitaries of the church, politicians and diplomats. So Pope John Paul II was totally against these wars. And you don't get to see that. Everybody just accuses him of being a twat. You've got to understand that there's Rome the Empire, and now, after the fascists ripped it up in 1929 and created the Vatican State, the Vatican State isn't the Vatican Church. The Church is a completely different entity, but ultimately has been an instrument of the Holy See. You've got to see these distinctions, people. Otherwise, you'll never, ever come together as Christendom, i.e. Protestants and Catholics. It won't happen. The Vatican has been shafted. You've got to see this. And it was being shafted by the Jesuits before they were kicked out, but especially when they were forced back in. Okay, it's a long time gig that's been going on. Yeah, and the Fatima prophecies were the last attempt to stop it in 1960. And we had the Pope for 33 days who would have stopped it. But the Masonic P2 and associated Grand Orient Lodges were too well embedded in it, and they killed him. And for that, you need to watch Godfather Part 3. Now, if you've never watched the Godfather trilogy, I suggest you watch all of them. But 3 is the most important by far. And it's interesting that, because when I was young and I first watched The Godfather, I watched 1 and 2, but couldn't be arsed with 3. It was only when I started to understand the game that I actually watched 3 and realised that I'd actually missed the most important one. So if you want to understand what was going on in the 60s, killing of JFK, because JFK represented the Catholic Church, the killing of the 33-day Pope, you've got to understand it was to make sure the Church became subject to this shit, the fascists, who then installed Vatican II. So all of us, most of us alive today, have only known Catholicism under this fascist system. And so we go, oh, it's a load of shit, it's evil. No, it's not. You know, I mean, baptism, for instance. If you don't understand what baptism is, it's you are being put under the egregore of the church that you are baptised in. So if you're baptised in a church representing St. Michael, you want to study St. Michael because you're under his wing. Gabriel, Mary, all these different churches. If you are baptised in these churches, you want to understand that because that's the egregore that are waiting to help you on the right path in that kingdom within. So I were baptised in the Church of the Sacred Heart, and I'm happy with that egregore because it has no ties to what the Vatican's doing. I'm tied into the egregore relating to the Sacred Heart. Right? So you need to understand where you were baptised, because that's the egregore. If you were baptised in one of these happy clappies, you need to understand that the egregore you're in is the Alpha course, which is pure Satanism. So there's your rebellion. You want to get away from that egregore. You know, it's the same when you join Freemasonry. You're putting yourself under the egregore of that system and all that came before. That's the egregore, the dead that had, you know, they don't move beyond when they're dead. They're stuck at the level that they created for themselves here, and you'll join the egregore of whatever it is that rate frequency represents in the afterlife. This is why it's important that you do pay attention here. You're not only here once. There's the biggest con going, and if you believe that, you're in for the shock of your life. Believe me. So egregore is very important that you understand this, especially where it determines your baptism. Yeah? There's your egregore. If you call upon it, you might fight against it and it leaves you to it. You've gone to something else, fine. But again, equally, if you've been baptised into something not so good, then that's what you want to relieve yourself from as well. It's important, this stuff, people. Amid John Paul's campaign against the Second World War in Iraq, Princess Pallavicini... we've done that, haven't we? Sorry. Prince Morello Diaz della Vittoria Pallavicini and the Prince Sigiere Diaz della Vittoria Pallavicini are two of the main powers in Rome and the world. The statue in the Pallavicini Palace holds a harp that refers to its authority over the harp system of the United States, used for mass mental manipulation and climate modification. But also the harp, when you see it in the regalia, represents the frequencies, not necessarily the harp itself. It does today, but previous to that, they have command over the certain frequencies that we all take on. If you're stuck, remember all this, the only thing these people control is the 666 grid. That's all peoples that are stuck in the negative of the first 3 chakras. Once you move above that, the power of those energies make the bonds at the bottom look like fucking amoebas. Make no mistake about it. And I experienced that when I did battle with the shitbag, and then I were opened up into those new spiritual energies. These shitbags, these demons and all that go with it have no power. The egregore of all that goes with that 666 system has no power at all in relation to that above the heart. Make no mistake about it. I'm telling you, That is the case. Believe it or not, but I'm telling you, that is it. There's only one game down here, folks, and that's to remove yourself from the control of the 666 grid, which means balancing and cleansing your character, because they won't come anywhere near you if you're a low frequency, because you'll spill it into that. That's why it's important people cleanse themselves, and you're doing it because you understand why you're doing it. Not that you're going, oh, I'm sick of you, you're a bastard, you're too many rules and regulations, I hate you. That's just the infant crying its little tits off. Yeah? There's rules, there's spiritual laws here. And you either move with them and understand them, or you'll spend the rest of your life as a crying infant, screaming your little balls out. And then you can join these dark societies that give your pets mean prizes in there, so that it's a bit more comfortable, that you don't have to cleanse yourself. But all you're doing is wasting your life. Because when you die, you go into that egregore and you're coming back again. And you'll be born back into that shit. Until the day arrives that you work it out and you spend your time working it out and moving in the right direction. That's the wheel of fortune. You round and round, the merry-go-round. Round and round and round you go. You're going fucking nowhere. You're going nowhere. You know, that's the symbolism of the fairground. That's the old symbolism of the merry-go-round that the Egyptians were teaching you. You just thought it was a jolly ride because you were on it. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Anyway. So here we go. Prince Morello Diaz and Prince Jurgen Diaz. And we've seen them in the Holy See imagery, haven't we, as well? So, there you go. Him on your right looks like he's killing's an art for him. He has that air about him. Karen Ackers is an American actress and singer who has appeared on Broadway and in cabaret and movies. And it is a Pallavicini, so she's a Pallavicini. Ackers was born as Karen Orth Pallavicini in New York on October 13, 1945. Her immigrant father, Henrik Christian Orth Pallavicini, was of Austrian and Swiss-Italian descent. I'd like to know who her mother were. Karen Ackers married Kevin Patrick Power, Vice President of the satellite communications company Orion Network Systems, in a ceremony Roman Catholic in the Chapel of St. Paul of the Columbia University in New York. Orion Network System was acquired by Laurel Space and Communications on March 20th, 1998. Marco Pallavicini is a professor of physics at the University of Geneva. The Pallavicini family specialises in radiating to society, creating the feeling of desolation and anxiety through HARP and other electronic systems, which is what they're building everywhere around us. The Pallavicini and the Medici families are architects of street harassment and call their isolation and torture program the Desolate Abomination, in reference to Matthew 24:15. In 167 BC, so remember they mock it, they mock everything and mimic it and mock it. A Greek governor named Antiochus Epiphanes erected an altar to Jupiter on the altar of burnt offerings at the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. He also sacrificed a sow on the altar in the temple of Jerusalem. This event is known as the Bleak Abomination, in reference to the Antichrist. And what are they getting ready to do with these efforts? They have to do it this year. They're 3 years old. They have to be done at 3 years old. They've built the sacrificial altar, which means they then have to blow up the Alaska Mosque. And remember, this is the Shia, the Sufis, the Magi, doing this. And they gain control into the West through the Crusades by giving the Templars the treasures they sought, but also telling them, you may have the system, but only we know the true meaning of the cross. And are we not all nailed on the cross? Yes, we are. we are all nailed on the cross. There he is. See, they're not lizards, are they? They're people. The Pallavicini own a vineyard and winery that they used to traffic human blood and adrenochrome obtained through Mafia torture. Princess Maria Camilla Pallavicini is the mother of Prince Morello and Prince Sergio, which is them two geezers. So she's called Princess Maria Camilla Pallavicini. Strange looking woman. There we go. Princess Luciana Pallavicini is married to the royal family in Afghanistan. And there's Olympia Pallavicino on the right. So I'm surmising Princess Luciana is, oh, hang on a minute. He's either, well, I don't know actually which one it is. It's not clear. Anyway. Don Diego Pallavicini, born in 1976, a native of Mota Balufi. He was ordained a priest on June the 12th, 2004. He began his parish ministry as vicar at Fornovo S. Giovanni and Forno S. Giovanni, and in 2011 he was transferred to Cremona, to the parish of Cristo Rey, and he's always, as he's transferred, as a vicar. There he is. And what's that sigil on his sleeve? The Pallavicini family owns Pallavicini Immobiliare, a multi-million-dollar real estate development company. Global Wealth Management, GWM, is an international financial firm, and Harmony Bank, which is an investment company, and they are investing in environmental technology through GWM, which participates in renewable energy. So GWM is located in Milan, Rome, London, Malta, Geneva and Luxembourg. Banking is private in Switzerland and in Luxembourg. Remax Universal, so that's the logo for Pallavicini Immobiliare. The Pallavicini family has also managed pharmaceuticals of Rotterdam and asset management of Prilios. The Marquis Alfonso Pallavicini from Austria was senior executive of BNP Paribas, which is a massive old school bank that we don't really hear much of. An international banking group with assets worth almost 2 trillion. Well, I can guarantee it's gone way up from that after the last 3-year gig. The Prince Domingo Pallavicino is a Genoese nobleman and works with Grimaldi's house in Monaco. Domenico Pallavicino with Prince Alberto Grimaldi di Monaco. Farhad Moshiri is an Iranian billionaire who lives in Monaco. The Pallavicini family is married to the very rich and hated Medici family, with gift Guglielmo Pallavicini married with Donna Elvina de Medici del Vassallo, nicknamed Queen of the Black Nobility. And his grandchildren are Morello and Sigiere. So, if she's the Queen, and his grandchildren are Morello. So that's them two guys up there again. So they're the grandchildren of the Queen of the Black Nobility. Now, so they're tying in here the Pallavicini with the Medici family, which I'm not disputing. But as I said, when I was studying the history of these lands many moons ago, the next in line, it would appear, to these Pallavicinis was the foreign heirs. Now, are the foreign heirs being hidden? You know what I'm saying? But also, when I was studying this and in France, it was pretty clear to me that the Medici, they were behind the kings and queens. And Catherine de Medici, after that, they moved out of the public eye. Now, when you're doing that, it's because you're controlling it. So I've always felt that the Medici could very well be the controlling family of the Holy See. But again, so I don't know. That was the impression I got, but not too sure, either way, really, to be honest. So, Donna Elvina de Medici, that's the woman we saw up there. They told the head, and she's seen as the Queen of the Black Nobility. Now, it's talking in a tense that she's still alive. She was born in 1945, so she probably could be, They also have a large family branch in Budapest called the Xaki Pallavicini family with several members. The Pallavicini family is the main owner of the Armenian Mafia, or also called the Armenian Band of Power, Hollywood Helions, which is based in Hollywood and operates as security, executors, extortionists, and human traffickers. And there we have a pretty picture of one of the cartel members. Hesida, Armenia. There we go. Pretty boy. Pallavicini family is the old family of Pahlavi, or Iranian royalty, and the family Pallavuni. It is also Iranian royalty who settled in Armenia and became dynasties Makhargzeli and Hethamids. The Armenian Mafia is Christian and Muslim, just as the Pallavicini family is Christian and Muslim. The Pallavicini family financed the Vatican as bankers from northern Italy and married several Roman and papal noble families such as the Respigliosi house. The Armenian power has alliances with the Mexican Mafia and even got involved with the war in Syria. The Armenian Mafia is allied with the Russian Mafia, with which the Pallavicini family has strong ties. The Austrian Marquis Alfonso Pallavicini has been non-executive director of BNP Paribas ZAO in Russia, and Giancarlo Pallavicini Milan is an economist and advisor to the Soviet government. Count Gilberto Arrivabene Valentia Gonzaga, with his wife, Princess Bianca of Savoy Aosta, and their daughters and son, Count Gilberto Arrivabene Valente Gonzaga, with gay fashion designer Erdem Moralioglu. Count Gilberto is one of the main owners of the gay mafia and has numerous gay friends. Okay. The Gonzaga, they married the imperial dynasty of the Byzantine Palaiologos, which we looked at last week, which look very like, as Turkics, that they are one of these lines, probably one of the early lines, that the Genghis created. So these guys are tied into these as well now, the Pallavicini, who have also married the Russian imperial family and share the same shield as the double-headed eagle or phoenix. The Russian Mafia oversees the Armenian Mafia, and the Russian Mafia in New York City pay tribute to the Lucchese crime family, which is owned by the House of Lucchese Palais from Austria and Italy. Since the Pallavicini are noble from both Austria and Italy, so the Pallavicini are noble from Austria and Italy as well. Palais as Pallavicini, so again they've shortened it to hide it. The Russian House of Romanov has established several residences in the United States and own the Russian Mafia. Now that's interesting because Peter III, who was the husband murdered by his wife Catherine the Great, he was the last Romanov. Now, there's obviously some breeding gone on then somewhere. So Peter III must have had bastards, or Peter II and first, and that they're a hidden side. If the Romanovs are still going, which it would appear they are, then they certainly weren't the family that we've been taught the Romanovs at the time of the Bolshevik Revolution. Because if Peter III was the last, then they're dealing with the bastard lines to make that claim, would be my opinion, from what I've studied in the past. And most of my studies into the Bloodlines was done a long time ago, by the way. I'm sort of invigorating it in it today. The Russian House of Romanov has established several residences in the United States and owned the Russian Mafia. Prince Paul Dmitrievich Romanovsky Ilinsky was 3 times mayor of Palm Beach, Florida, and his family still live in the United States. Ilinsky, Zelensky. It's similar, that, isn't it? Prince Andrew Romanov lives in California, and his children, Prince Alexis Andreevich Romanov, Prince Peter Andreevich Romanov, and Prince Andrew Andreevich Romanov. See, America, once before the Civil War, was an English endeavour, and it was full of English and Germans. It was an Aryan gig. You'd got the Spanish coming up, which were roamed through Mexico and South America. But ultimately, North America was formed by Aryans, Aryan Christians, yeah? But through the Civil War, that's when Rome took over America. Yeah, that's what happened in America. So us Aryans are not very good at fighting these bastards, are we? Let's be honest, we're pretty thick, really. We need to rebirth our Scythian memories, our Scythian, because they were so warrior-like, it were unbelievable. They're the ones a queen, is it Tomaris? She knocked off King Cyrus, or Trump today. She said, "You will have your fill of blood." He killed her son, because that was the kind of guy he was. And King Cyrus was invited into Babylon to take it over. Back in the day. Prince Paul Dmitriev Romanovsky Ilinsky was 3 times mayor of Palm Beach. Oh, I've done that, sorry. Prince Andrew Romanov lives in California. I've done that as well. They also live, and I've done that too. They also live in California, where they oversee the Russian Mafia and the Armenian Mafia. Remember, the Armenian Christians were annihilated by the Jews, massacred. Prince Andrei Romanov. They're bred into these families. They're name stealing. They're name stealing, these people, I'm telling you now. He does not look Aryan at all. Not in the slightest. So all our families have been bred into, name stole, murdered, killed and made through the mothers, being the whore priestesses. The offspring have been pulled into this all the time. You can see he does not look Russian. Does not look Slavic. So I'm not having it. You know, God gave us all our features so we could see each other. The Prince Andrei Romanov has been the highest authority and owner of the Russian Mafia in the United States. The Russian Mafia is a great operation in Northern California. Armie Hammer is of Russian Jewish descent and is a Hollywood actor. Arnie's paternal great-grandmother was the Russian actress and singer Olga Vadimovna Vadina, the daughter of a Tsarist general. Armie Hammer's Russian Jewish grandparents founded the Communist Party in New York. Armie Hammer provides intelligence for the Russian Mafia in Hollywood. Name stealing, that's where we can see that. He is not. What is that frigging noise? Oh, I know what it is. Been hearing it all day. Yeah. Right. Prince Andrew Romanov is an authority over the Russian and Armenian mafias and lives in California with his brother, Prince Peter, and the half-brother, Prince Alexis, supervisors of the Russian-Armenian Mafia. And that's the best image that you can find. You know, I look at these faces and I look to Breaking Bad. And you can see that kind of gig going on, can't you? Kris Jenner was married to Robert Kardashian, who is of Scottish descent, like the Rospigliosi Pallavicinis. The Kardashians have a collective value of over $1 billion and are basically famous for sweet fuck all. They are promoted by Hollywood and their target audience is white women. And the Kardashians date black men. Yeah? There's your mind control job. So you're running around with foreskins in your lips, girls, big fat fucking asses, and then your television has got nothing but white women with a black man. What's that all about? I'll tell you what it's all about. They're getting ready for you to breed with these Africans, ready in sync with this Antichrist figure, who, the more I see it, the more I'm convinced it's Barack Obama. Well, I mean, people have translated it from the Bible as well, that it is actually Barack Obama. Yeah? They're promoting Hollywood, and the target audience is date black men, while their white stepfather, who is clearly European white, is a transsexual. So can you see the game there? Yeah? They look pathetic, they're ugly as fuck, they've got fat asses, big super lips, they're all marrying black men, and they make out there's the white guy in there who's a complete fruitcake and now a transsexual. Can you see the gig? And you dumb bitches out there, suck it up. Because you really are dumb. You know what I'm saying? You're dumb. You know, white guys, you don't want to be breeding with them kind of women. Because they really are fucking fruit bats. And they'll take your kids off. Now, can you see why they've set it up? So that you can breed with these shitheads and they can take your kids away. And get brought up by the state. Or whatever fruit bat step parent your fruit bat wife chooses. You see the game? It's all stepping stone. First, it's free love. Then it's contraception. Then it's abortion. Then it's homosexuality. Stopping you procreating your race. Then they fire up and charge up the females. What do you need a fella for apart from to give you a kid? We'll give you money, the state says. We'll tax you if you're going to work. And because you've no fella in there bringing up your kids and you're obviously thick as fuck, the schools are going to fuck up your kids like you wouldn't believe. And this is where we are today. You females, or women, you're not females, you are going to be so disappointed when your day comes and you're dead and you realise what a complete arsewipe you've been. How you've destroyed your offspring. From the get-go they're born by believing strange people in strange buildings and allowing them to attack your offspring with all sorts of nonsense. You are pathetic. You have no respect for women like that. You're disgusting. You deserve everything that's coming. Make no mistake about it. You deserve everything that's coming if that's your attitude. Oh, sorry. I do get excited because I watch these kids get destroyed. So it's a massive agenda that these people are driving. And yeah, the Kalergi plan is exactly that. And that was formed in 1922, people. 1922. And then they had a Second World War. Completely wrecked the baby boomers who were conceived in that war and trauma. So feeling the trauma in the womb. Then they were mass inoculated in the 50s, giving them all sorts of stuff. And then you got the 60s rock and roll and LSD. And they became the most selfish, infantile generation that I've ever studied. Ever. And it's a sad indictment on a generation who believed they went to the moon. They actually believed that they won the fucking war when they were in womb. That's how it works. They are probably the most programmed and abused generation that I've ever seen. But what got me about it is there were no convincing them otherwise. Do you know why? Because they knew everything. They were just self, me. We're going to get pissed. Tittle tattle. Let's shag everything and everybody. Completely wrecking the bloodlines by having all sorts of offspring pulled into your family. Everybody's bringing up somebody else's little bastard so it can wreck the family after. This is how it's gone. And the baby boomers still don't see it. Because it's 633 Squadron. Great Escape. We went to the moon. Just give me a pint. That's it. That's it. That's the capacity of that generation. And they were programmed that way. My generation, a lot of them have been infected by it. They've joined the Masonic. They've joined this. They've joined that. Helped destroy the nation. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. They're all pissheads. They're all, so many of my colleagues are dead. Alcohol, drugs, violence, you know, or they're in prison. They spent most of their adult life in prison. Sad it is. It really is sad. So there's your bag of shit Kardashians. I've never watched an episode in my life. Now then. This is interesting because you've all heard of the Rat Pack, haven't you? So that's Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Ronald Reagan. I don't think you were a part of a Rat Pack, but they were all involved in that. And Dean Martin, and everything was centred around MGM in Las Vegas. Everything, the hotel. And they were programming the mix of Catholics and Jews to come together. Which you can see if you look at Don Rickle. Yeah, you can, if you ever looked into their gig, their team, their program that they were dishing out in the 50s and 60s, it's all centred around MGM. Okay? Well, look who's controlling and who controlled and still controls that. It says Las Vegas, NV, June 16th, the tent at MGM Grand Hotel Casino shows a video tribute to billionaire investor Kirk Kerkorian on June 16, 2015 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Kerkorian, who was the largest shareholder in MGM Resorts International, died at his home in California on June the 15th at age 98. So, I think that's 2015. So this guy was running it all through the beatnik generation, the 60s, but more importantly, embedding this shit in Hollywood, which John Wayne was telling you all about. Kirk Kerkorian, who passed away in 2015, was an Armenian-American billionaire residing in Beverly Hills and was worth about $4 billion. He owned the film studio Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer from Hollywood and also participated in Las Vegas hotels like the MGM Grand. So there's your Rat Pack gig. That's where Dean Martin lived. It's where they did all the roasts, where they did all the stuff. There he is. $1968 there. Kirk Kerkorian, he was a leader of the Nostra thing, of the black nobility and his Armenian Mafia. Kirk Kerkorian's lawyer and his ex-wife, Lisa Bonda Kerkorian, were related to Anthony Pellicano, who was accused of extortion, conspiracy, wiretapping, witness tampering, identity theft, and also possession of explosives. Anthony Pellicano was from Chicago and an agent from the Chicago outfit. Alex Yemenidjian is of Armenian descent and worked with Kirk Kerkorian and was director of MGM Resorts International and CEO of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Alex Yemenidjian is currently the executive director of Armenco Holdings and is a superior authority over the Armenian Mafia. So MGM, if any young ones watching, you know when you see a film starting and the lion roars, that's MGM. The Russian Mafia as a Jewish part and its Jewish faction is overseen by the Goldsmith family of bankers. So that's Diana's, you know, maybe. There they are. Look at all the little whores. Oh, I'll suck your cock. Yeah. The Goldsmiths and Bischofsheims co-created Banca di Credit and the Depot de Pius Bas, which later became BNP Paribas, and has a large branch in Russia. The Marquis Alfonso Pallavicini worked as a high-level executive to BNP Paribas ZAO, Russia as head of coverage, so it's in Russia, as head of coverage and European territories at BNP Paribas SA. Goldsmith Punctures is the chief rabbi of Moscow and belongs to the Goldsmith banking dynasty. Giancarlo Pallavicini, Desio, February 12, 1931, is an Italian economist, academic manager, writer and journalist, a former advisor to the Soviet government at the time of the perestroika of Gorbachev, a member of the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences. In the Encyclopedia Treccani, Giancarlo Pallavicini appears as the inventor in 1960 of a method to calculate results that do not cost directly to businesses. The method of decomposing parameters who anticipated current developments in social responsibility businesses. Now, we saw him earlier, didn't we, with the Pope. He's a mighty power, this fella. Giancarlo was administrator of Noi Finance Italia, Milan, Noi Finance Holdings, Lausanne Banque Cantonale, Vaudois, Lausanne, Invesco, London. Since 1994, Secretary General of Medio Factoring in Milan, Banco Caripalo or Cariplo. Since 1993, and CGM International, Milan, Banco Cariplo, Generale Assicurazione, Marzario, you can tell I'm not Italian, can't you? Since 1983. President, Euro Consulting the Fourth, Moscow. Since 1988. Owner, Signature Pallavicini. Research and Methods, Desio Milan. Since 2000. That's a big boy. There he is. What's that a picture of? It'll be symbolic, that. Whatever it is. I can't see it. The Duke Armando Diaz della Vittoria is the father of Prince Sigieri and Prince Merrill. That's the two we saw at the bottom. And together with his children, they are the owners of the Armenian Mafia. So the Queen of the Black Nobility, remember, is involved in that because they're the grandchildren. So the Duke Armando Diaz will probably be the son of the Queen of the Black Nobility. And the Armenian Mafia is the key. So obviously when they massacred the Armenian Christians, they took it over. The Armenian Mafia is considered part of the Russian Mafia. The Duke is called Armando and is known as the Armenian. The Diaz family is of Spanish descent and settled in Italy with Armando Diaz, the first Duke of Victory, an Italian military general under Mussolini, who is probably the father of this Duke Armando Diaz della Vittoria. Now don't forget Mussolini and the fascists and Franco, they created the Vatican State, completely annihilating it. And you've got to see it as separate from the church. The church just got bum stupid. It's the Vatican State that's the power that's fucking it up, and the Holy See ultimately, which is running both the Vatican system and the Holy Roman Empire, because it belongs to the black nobility. The Armenian Mafia is considered part of the Russian Mafia. I've done that. The Armenian Mafia is closely related to the Mexican Mafia, which is owned by Spanish royalty and nobles. Diaz family was originally from Spain, holders of Biscay manor between the 10th and 14th centuries. Origin of the later historical territory and province of Vizcaya in the Basque country. There he is. Looks like a mate of mine, that. Current members of the Pallavicini criminal family include the Princess Maria Camilla Pallavicini, the Prince Sigieri Pallavicini, the Prince Morello Pallavicini, the Prince Domenico Pallavicini, Margraf Eduardo Pallavicini, Margraf Alfonso Pallavicini, Margravine Elizabeth Pallavicini, the Count Roger Sacchi Pallavicini, the Count Thomas Sacchi Pallavicini, Don Diego Pallavicini, the Prince Yahya Sergio Yahya Pallavicini, who is Muslim, the Sufi, Charles Vincent Somerset Pallavicini, Giancarlo Pallavicini, Marco Pallavicini, Yel Principe Filipino Rospigliosi. Try saying that way, mouthful. And there we have the red and white checkerboard of Egypt, the pharaohs, and the double-headed eagle. And thus endeth the journey into yet another family of absolute power over the entire world. What say ye to that, ladies and gentlemen? So, there's where it's all coming from. They want to break away civilization and you're not included. This is the gig. So where are we? What are you saying, you chaps? Ooh, you've been chatting a lot, that's good. Right, so Simply Scout says she's slightly out of hearing from standing too close and on top of the speakers. What would I find of that photo of Obama when young, she says, simply. June says, my daughter's birthday tomorrow, I will never forget. Simply Scout says, I'm making our little town twat free. No one like that rat getting past security. Excuse the French. Jerry says, lining up the night on the white horse, the actors putting people through the mill now don't realise they're soon to be made scapegoats, maybe. Well, of course. Everything, that's the pyramid. Money goes up, shit comes down. So every time things happen, there's a scapegoat, you're knocked off. Look at what's happening to P. Diddy. It's a diversion. They don't want you to look at this treaty. They don't want you to look at art and weather warfare. They want you to look at these clips. They want you to look at P. Diddy. Because what P. Diddy set out to do has been achieved. The same with Epstein. When Epstein were outed, it's because everything he did had been achieved, which was mainly in blackmailing enough of the people to force this fake science on everybody in 2020. Among other things. But MIT, Harvard University, that's where the money were going. That's where all the Epstein scientific experiments were being funded. They had to come out with the outcome that they wanted. Epstein were outed for the diversion once they'd achieved what they did. Diddy's achieved what he needed to do in hip-hop. He's fucked up all the kids. Yeah, it's tied Islam to it. It's tied black culture to it. It's turned kids feral. It's turned women into whores because that's what the hip-hop culture tells them they are. They want fat asses, big lips, because they're following Kardashians. Done. All done. The programs are done and dusted. Now it's entertainment and a diversion. The image of the plough reminds me of a cup pouring something out at each stage. Is that biblical? It's a seasonal thing, isn't it? So it's representing the 4 seasons. So it could be, actually, yeah. Could be. Possibly, who knows what anything, blah, blah, blah. That face thing is a really banting around. I hope you heard that bit. Which face? Simon Martin says alien. What? Oh, you mean Obama? Well, they put him up, don't they, as well as an image of Akhenaten as well. But of course, Akhenaten didn't start the monotheistic. It was the Zoroastrians, or Mithra. Yeah? Mithraism was the original monotheistic gig. And we've been through Mithra, have we not? Get them out, says Jerry. Why the long face? Who? Me? Or him? Her mother was a draft horse for Guinness. Who are you having a chat with? Another channel was trying an in Attila the Hun with King Arthur's story. Attila the Hun were completely controlled by Rome, the Roman bloodlines, and they killed him. It's like Marco Polo. We're presented with this idea that he was a spy for Genoa. He was spying for Genghis. I'm telling you now, they've done a deal with Genghis. But I think the Venetians created, formed and controlled the Golden Hordes. And that was their way in to annihilating and getting the Western Aryan Rome under its thumb. The Whore of Babylon and the serpent tricking Eve story. The Whore of Babylon and the serpent tricking Eve story. June says that these British passports are to a penny. I want my English passport. Exactly. Sense Offender says right wing, left wing are the same bird, and that's the eagle adorned with the laurels of the empire rule. Exactly. Jerry says, and remember the Speaker of the House in the States when Francis visited the States. Yep. Jerry says, yes, sense often carries the symbol of fascism. Remember, Hitler undid all our symbol. My granddad said that even. He said, no, he said, look, he said, Hitler inverted all what were our own and old and ancient symbols. And he was quite right. They turned it into something it's not. To make us hate it. You know, this is a big part of how the Bolshevik system works. You have to remove it from your history and then get you to hate it. So this slavery bullshit. Bullshit, it's not ours. We didn't make any money on slavery. We didn't own ships. It were Jews that were doing it. And the only fucking idiots that we class as English that were involved in it were actually Masonic. So it were fuck all to do with England at all. It were Jewish ship owners, Jewish plantation owners, and African fucking kings selling Africans to them. So all this fucking reparations kit, kiss my fucking ass. I don't know whether you're Native Americans, black, or what. You're like infants, and you need to be treated like infants at the end of the fucking day. Do not pander to this garbage. Nip it in the bud everywhere. Your Jesuit oath tells how evil they are. So I watched two people that took this Jesuit oath to a speech by the head of the Jesuits. Not now, the last one. I can't remember his name. Now, I'd already read some of his papers. I can't remember his name, Nicholas. So I'd read some of his papers and I were in awe of his spiritual essence of what he knew. And these two guys had been chasing him a bit, and they went to one of his speeches. And they were like, well, we're going to get him, like, well, fuck you right this, blah, 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 blah. Right, so anyway, at the end, he came out, and they accosted him. And him being a nice guy, said, yeah, of course, I'll look at it. And they gave him the oath, and he's like, what do you think of that? And he was absolutely fucking horrified. Like, you could tell he'd never seen it before in his life. They're blood oaths, people. Them are not Jesuit oaths. Them are blood oaths that you can take in any single secret society that you join. It's when you're assigning your blood to the evil. That's a blood oath. It's not just sanctioned for it's what evil insists you take, no matter what organisation you're in. You start taking blood oaths, that's the kind of shit you're giving out. So don't get too fooled by that, Chuck. It's smoke and mirrors. Did you say you were baptised in the Church of the Sacred Heart, my friend? Heart. Yeah? Not ark. Heart. Thou Queen of Heaven, the old China. And I'm more than happy with that egregore. You know what I'm saying? But it's important you understand these things. You know, it's really important that you understand what happened when you were baptised and where you were baptised. It doesn't mean to say that it's there. If you're up on the spiritual path, that's the egregore that you're going to be, that are going to come to help you and protect you. But if you're just fannying around like in 666, a fruit bar, they're not coming anywhere fucking near you. Yeah? So, that's what I'm saying. These are important things that we need to understand. And people don't understand it. Casting pearls before swine. Loving your work, B. Recycling Gestapo. Thank you, Recycling. That's very nice of you to say. Sense offender. I must admit, Sean is very knowledgeable. Fair play to him for his time and effort. Well, thank you. Looks like I have very expensive months, April and May. Website, vehicle, everything. So it may settle down a little bit now because I'm going to have to earn. Otherwise, it all fucking collapses. So just be ready for last month. I had some good donations and I got a lot of good work done. So this is probably, and this what I've done tonight, I got done in that period. So after tonight, it's not going to be as intriguing, let's say. So be ready for that. No ghosting machine, sacred art, recycling Gestapo. I have cheers. So he's Catholic. Yeah, I was christened a Catholic. I was. And I've never read it. I've told you that. So if it's a surprise to you, you either weren't listening or you're new to this gig. Like you, Sean, thought Godfather 3 was garbage to have to watch it again a different as you will. Because that's exactly what we're going on and that's, yeah. So yeah. Yeah, it bored me stupid when I was younger, when I was a youngster watching. Well, I enjoyed 1 and 2, but 3 just, but that is the important one, yeah. Recycling says, music EDM sounds good, old Bernard. BY music EDM sounds, I understand the red rose. Sense offender, most white Protestant nations, hence the Kalergi plan, yeah. Alexander, yeah, but it's not just Protestants, the Aryans, we were Aryan Christians in our entirety, and they split us into two. Because once they got their foot in the Catholic Church and had these dickhead popes out selling fucking God knows what, everybody went, get stuff off your head. Plus it were also known at the time that the plan of the Illuminati was to use the entire Roman system to bring in the Antichrist. That's why Catholicism split. Well, but then again, you go back further a bit, the Catholics were the Eastern Romans, we were Aryans. It's just so much smoke and mirrors. It's difficult. Yes, unfortunately, the Kalergi plan says Alexander Milicevic. Yeah, absolutely. The white race. It's against the white race in its entirety, folks. So it doesn't matter whether you're Catholic, you're Protestant, you're Buddhist, you're fruit bat. Doesn't matter. This is a move against the white race. Hence why the Kardashians and all that shit, the 60s, etc., encouraged us to stop breeding. And now it's encouraging our youngsters to off-ski and shag these black Africans who are just going to get you impregnated and fuck off. Because you look at the data, and it doesn't have to be these black Africans, I'm talking about the black culture in themselves. I think it's 68% of all black relationships, once a child's born, fella fucks off. If it's a white girl, black man, it's 97% of all those relationships, you become a single parent. And your child will be feral and your child will be in these gangs because you ain't going to be able to control the little blighter. And them are statistics, real, sound, proper statistics. So keep that in mind, people. Don't think I'm not attacking black people, but facts are facts, folks. And I got kicked off Twitter in a big part back in the day because I was just undermining all this shit. And a big part of it were Black Lives Matters were building up. And I just said, look, yeah, Black Lives Matters, to me, in my opinion, when I see Black Lives Mattering to black males. Until then, I don't care. And that were undermining the programme. But it's a fact. Black lives matter as much as any other life. But until the black male sees it, it doesn't, does it? You know what I'm saying? I'm not taking responsibility for black culture. You know what I'm saying? But also people might think, oh, he's racist. No, I'm not. I'm a musician. I write music. How could I not appreciate black culture? Come on! You know, if it weren't for black culture, we'd still be dancing to fucking bagpipes. So, no, I'm not racist at all. The black people I've known in my life are amazing people, and one of them especially taught me so much when I was a youngster. He taught me a lot, and that was a black guy. When I worked at John Lang's, and he was a scouser, big fucking, and he was my general foreman when I was a concrete ganger, and that guy taught me so much. I have nothing but respect for that man. And another guy I met as well and knew, again, taught me things. They taught me things, that white people weren't fucking teaching me because they were fucking something stupid. They were baby boomers. So no, I'm not racist in any way, shape or form against black people. Like I said, the people that I've known have done me a lot of good. So bullshit to that, I won't accept it. I won't accept it if anybody thinks that that's how I'm coming across. When I do my re-listen, I'll comment better on that subject show. No problem, mate. Biblical overflow with iniquity. So there is actually a doctrine in the, what's it called, of iniquity. Comes out at Catholic thing. Malachi Martin is a very interesting guy to watch his old interviews. If you want an insight into the Catholic Church before Vatican II. Yeah, that's where I learned a lot. Because I've never been a Catholic religious guy. I used to go to church when I was young just to aggravate my auntie. Because if we went visiting my cousins, they always went to church, and I'd go. And I'd just play around with basket to make sure it pissed everybody off and everybody could see, well, actually, it's all about money here. So I was a very naughty boy. So no, I'm not what you might call a religious Catholic at all, but I accept the egregore of my baptism because that's what came to me when I needed to get the fuck out of the hell that I were in. And full respect. Yeah. When Lex Van Man, the Sufis are an ancient spiritual Freemason whose origins have never been traced or dated, nor do they themselves take much interest in such researches. Yeah. I mean, I did all that before, years ago, it's the Sufis. It's like everything, isn't it? It's double-edged. There's a good side and a dark side. Every culture has its good people and its fruitcakes. Your fanatics, your absolute dickheads. But you've got to remember, these fanatics and dickheads are playing with some important tools, i.e. they've got all the fucking money and the fancy pants. Yeah? And it's attractive to most people. Ghost of the Machine, what's your take on UFOs? Do you think they're being visited by a species from another planet? Well, I've discussed that in a previous one. I'll not do it now because we're at the end, but have a look back a few weeks ago, and maybe I'll discuss it again. But I don't... It's like I know that they're real, but not in the way it's being presented to us. June says, I was christened, which doesn't include a baptism. Well, I mean christened. Yeah, when they throw water at you. That's the connection. Yeah? So I mean christened. But is it not baptised? See, you can see how religious I am. No, I got water thrown on my head in a church called the Sacred Heart. It was a bigger title than that, but that's it. And that's the egregore that I were connected to as a flea bag. Obviously, I didn't take any notice of as a flea bag. I was off doing my great own thing. But when it come to that crunch in 2000, when I got rid of the shit, that's what came to me. And I have full respect for it. And that's it. June says, christening comes from an Old English word, christen, which means to name. Right, so my apologies, so I'm rubbish. But when you're named, it goes in the book. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. You get the gist of what I've explained there. Sense offender, Sean's previous vids about the takeover going through Catherine the Great and Eastern influence are very informative on that side of things. Thanks for that, Jerry. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll say thanks for joining. I hope this was a decent stream. I hope you got something from it again. And now we've got quite a few PDF papers for you to peruse. If you want to get fixed in your mind who these families are, there's a lot more, but it takes a lot of time to do it. And as I've said, I'm going to have to start earning now, otherwise things are going to collapse a little bit. So expect a bit of the less of what you've been getting for the last few weeks and months. And that's it. So, again, thanks for joining. Thanks for taking part especially. And I will say, till the next time.
Radical